Mia was the oldest of 4 children from a low-income family. The ILP process enabled her to become the first in her family to go to college. As a freshman-sophomore, you would not have expected her to have a good plan for after high school. She was not a great student, even struggling through our integrated science course freshman year. Not the kind of student who typically pursues higher-level science classes. She didn't have a lot of interest in her classes. In the beginning of her junior year, she took a Principles of Biomedical Science class, a new course at the time in our healthcare career pathway, and she got hooked. From that point, she knew she wanted to do something in the medical field. She took advantage of a summer internship through our local healthcare alliance and discovered that she had an interest in becoming an ER nurse. Over the next 2 years of high school, Mia exhausted our offerings in the healthcare career pathway, earning over 10 college credits in our dual enrollment courses. While in high school, she got her dietary license on her own and started working as a dietary aide. Although she was not ranked near the top of her class, she received a lot of college scholarships due to her involvement in the career pathway or healthcare pathway and her solid plans for her future. She's currently enrolled in a nursing program in college.
Wow. Okay. Well, welcome to Let's Take a Moment for Youth. This podcast is brought to you by the Wheelock College of Education and Human Development Center for Future Readiness at Boston University. My name is Scott Solberg, and I'm joined by
Annie Bell.
And Shrey Venkatesan.
All right. The Take a Moment series is designed to explore innovations that create opportunities for all youth and children to develop their full potential. Our podcast is designed for those of you interested in or who are currently working in schools, community-based organizations, or concerned parents and caregivers seeking new ideas and resources. Today's topic is about individualized learning plans. I think one of the first things we'll do is change the name. We'll talk about that in a moment. But first, Shrey, your story about Mia really does describe kind of the nature of what we're talking about today, what this whole individualized learning plan piece is. Mia is someone who was participating in a high school in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, first generation, young woman of color, and it's just inspiring to see that when youth gain a plan, when they really figure out something they want, it really changes how they write about themselves, how they prepare, the kind of energy that gets evoked around them. And for them to go off and get the dietitian certificate and then walk into a hospital, I can just imagine what it must have felt like to see all this potentialities. And then the story was she came back to school at the end of her, beginning her junior year, and just said, I need to take all these advanced courses. When prior to that, nothing had been happening. There just wasn't any, excitement or engagement. And so this idea of relevance and meaningfulness is so important.
Mm-hmm. So Scott, how did you get interested in individualized learning plans?
Well, it's obviously a long story. It's been involved for a while now. I've always been interested in redesigning programs and interventions that would support youth and allow them to kind of start taking charge of their own lives, but also just having some way to impact and influence the direction of things. So you'll hear me talk a lot about civic engagement, where they define a problem and figure out with adult supports how we can solve it. That idea of youth driving the process has always been something that's been important to me. And it just happened that I was moving from the University of Wisconsin to the University of Wisconsin Milwaukee over to Madison, and had a chance to direct a technology system, and saw that this e-portfolio that was part of the career tech system was like the perfect vehicle for thinking about how we can help youth be looking through these individualized learning plans. And I wasn't the only one thinking that. It was just, there were a few of us at the time that were seeing that there's potential in this plan, and that's probably the most important part, is not the interest assessments, it's what am I making meaning out of through that career tech process. And then one of the things that we were talking about, the naming of it, everyone gets ILP confused with IEP, right, which is your individualized education program in the special ed services. So we had a lot of confusion at the beginning. So we definitely spent a lot of time working on naming, and each state has their own way of calling it. So some are using the same name. A lot of them are using individualized career and academic plans, which came out of the research we did, where we found that career readiness drives college readiness. So if you really help youth figure out who they want to be and how they can go about getting it, they start thriving academically as well. So that was something that a lot of states like Colorado has taken on. I think in Massachusetts we call it My Career and Academic Plan. I think it's kind of catchy, personally. And then also, just kind of more generically, we can refer to it today, like from this point on, calling it individualized career plans.
Okay.
Just to make sure it's clear that we're not talking about a learning in that sense. That can get us into other areas. It's really about what's my future, as I'm thinking about it.
Right.
So Sheree and Annie, what's drawn you into this? I mean, you're both working with our center. This is kind of the work we do. Why are you here?
That's a great question. So if I had individualized career plans, right, or any career-related advising, I don't know, I wouldn't have taken about 3 years into my undergraduate course to know and decide for myself that I wanted to go to law school in the future. So I came in as an economics major because that's what my dad wanted to do, especially in collectivist cultures. I feel like families have a big role in like making decisions, right? So I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was okay with economics because that was the one subject I was kind of good at, in high school. And then I also came from an environment that did not support individualized decision making, because it always had to be like a group decision making, even if it's for one person. So yeah, I joined to volunteer at the center and learning about ICPs and reading case studies from the book and learning how important and life-changing ICPs are kind of changed my perspective on everything. So I learned how with ICPs, students develop the skills to make informed decisions about what they want to do instead of being told what they should be doing, which is so important to know. And there are just so many possibilities and ways that you could plan your future, and so many ways that you could grow while learning what skills and passions you have. This makes me, want to advocate for and learn more about how life-changing individualized career plans are.
Yeah, and Annie, just before you go ahead, just want to make one little piece on that. So being from India, in a collectivist culture, the last thing we want to do is tell parents that they're not part of the process.
Exactly, yeah.
So one of the things you'll see us talk a lot about is the child and family, because our families need to know all these opportunities. It's
Right.
what it's really about by individualized. It's just helping the family and the individual think about the talent and skills and recognize there's a range of opportunities, some of which will include college, some of which won't include college, but
Right.
what makes the most sense, in that individual's life, financially, emotionally, all the different issues that go into making decisions about those future pathways.
For sure.
But we actually we have some resources for parents to help them see the value of this as well. We definitely want parents right there
Yeah.
at the centerpiece. And we have some stories we can talk about there as well later.
Yes.
Andy,
Well,
what's your story?
I grew up originally in a school district that I would say offered student support for kind of whatever post-secondary path they wanted to take, with a strong, even if unintentional, emphasis on four-year colleges and universities.
Yeah.
The district really advocated for college as your next step. There weren't a lot of conversations about gap years or any number of other options before you were to go down that pathway of a four-year post-secondary program. And so, I did what my classmates were doing, and I applied to college, and I had a plan coming out of that. I applied with a major in mind and all of that. And then right around this time of the year, I actually ended up taking that first semester off. So I moved in, went through orientation, started classes, and then left. And it wasn't for academic reasons, but there were many other things that I just needed to focus on at that point in my life that I hadn't focused on during high school. And so by the time I went back, it was winter of 2020. And over that spring break, COVID started. And so the school shut down, and then I was remote for the next year and some change. So the majority of my first, 2 years of college, I either wasn't there or I was remote. And once things started to open up again, I realized that I really didn't want to be at that school anymore. It just wasn't what I wanted to get out of a four-year college experience. And so I transferred to BU, took some more time off to work in between. And I guess one of my first semesters at BU, I took a Wheelock College of Education required course called Life Design, which was taught by Scott. And it was the first time, probably since high school, that I had really focused time to plan my future.
Right.
And it wasn't just college. What are you going to major in? What are you going to minor in? Where are you going to work? It was, where do you see yourself as a human being in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years? And, I mean, we say it a lot, but just about everybody in that class was like, in 10 years, I want to have a dog. You know, and there were very just human goals that people set for themselves. And that class was sort of a prompting event for me to change my major. So after all this time, I finally ended up in a major that I really felt passionate about. And so I guess where I'm going with all of that is that even as somebody who had a little bit of post-secondary guidance, my goals and dreams and passions changed. And pursuing an ILP or completing an ILP sort of in the life design class gave me a lot of the skills needed to continue to make goals for myself, no matter what path I ended up on or no matter what changed. And that was really confidence inducing, if that makes sense. That like you knew that you could make a decision and that it was going to be okay because these were the goals aligned with that. And so once I came to work at the center, not ILPs. See, that's my habit.
Yeah, it's okay.
Individualized career plans. They're just so applicable to people from so many backgrounds,
Right.
at so many different phases of their life, and the skills that you gain from completing one or going through that process are skills that will serve you as you go through life and continue to come back to setting goals.
Yeah.
Whether they're personal and about getting a dog, or professional, or academic. And
Yeah.
so I think that they're such a beneficial tool.
Yeah. Wow. There's just so much to unpack in both of your stories. What I like about your first story, not that it was a happy time, but so many students, when they go off to college, things get in the way. It can be
Oh,
health, it
absolutely.
can be family, it can be
Right.
financial, right? And so we need to have multiple plans. And that's
Yeah.
one of the themes
Yeah.
you'll hear about in our work, right? Is that you need to have not just a plan, but multiple
Yes.
backup plans as well.
And the skills to replan.
Well, you know, what's interesting there is you both mention a level of risk.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's
Oh,
a
yeah.
sense of uncertainty. There's a sense of familial dynamics. There's a
Right.
sense of, wow, I never really have taken time to think about me and in terms of what I'm about.
Well, and that's, I mean, Shrey, you and I both just recently graduated from college.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you felt this way, and this is a little bit of a tangent, sorry.
It's
But
okay.
you go through, 12 years of education and then however many years of post-secondary education. And then all of a sudden you're just working. And you're trying to figure out what work you want to do. And I've heard this from friends. I felt it. Maybe you felt it too. You're kind of like, what am I working towards?
Right.
Like for years it was college, and then it was the college degree, and then maybe you considered grad school or whatever, but like, what am I working towards? What am I going to do to fulfill myself right now? And so I feel like the skills that come with an ILP or an ICP allow you to kind of set goals, whether, like whatever realm they may fall into.
You know, it's
And that
really,
can be
that's so
empowering.
interesting. Trey, did you have something you want to jump in on?
No, I completely felt the same way.
I've been hearing it from so many people.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, after college, what am I going to do other than working? Like, I don't have personal goals for
Right.
myself,
Yeah.
So that's when I realized how important personal goals are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny. A former lawyer, still a lawyer, but formerly was just stuck in law school. And when he got out and was working, he decided to become an entrepreneur. And it was part of the work that I was doing that was his first entrepreneurial piece. And he said, look, I spent my life following a syllabus. And when the syllabus ended, it's okay, get a job as the lawyer. And then it was only at that point I said, but why? What am I doing, right? What do I want? So yeah, you're right. You're just kind of following the path, but not thinking forward in that way. I also think you mentioned really something important, and we bring the dog into that, which is about, it's not just about career. It's about having, and I don't even like using the word career as much. I like occupations, the work, what's my next adventure, but we have to put life in there too. So
Yeah.
it's really about what are my life and occupational goals, because
Right.
it may be that where I want to be is living out in nature and being on a farm and doing some other things for a while. And especially at the ages that you're all at, as we're transitioning into adulthood, great opportunities to do those kind of things, right?
Yeah.
So there could be life quality pieces that become more salient as we're moving forward, and there may be health issues that we need to be thinking about health and life first,
Right.
and then thinking about
Absolutely.
occupation as how it can fit within that. So yeah, I think that's it's a broader conversation when we talk about individualized career plans. It's not just about the career. That's the word that's too. It's just we use it because that's what we use. Everyone's familiar with it, but it's
Right.
really not fully understanding what we're talking about. And it's also about identity. Who
Yes.
am I wanting to become?
Yeah.
And wanting to take charge of that. Because all you did was follow what the syllabus said. Which told
Right,
you
like-
what you would learn and how you would learn it.
The syllabus, the schedule, the timeline.
Yep.
And then, then I realized statistically, I think it's more than 50% of students or something transfer.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I had failed because I made the decision to transfer. And X number of students take a gap year every year. It's little parts of the conversation early on
Yeah.
that you don't necessarily always have.
Right.
And then you consider this decision and it feels riskier.
Yeah.
And then you realize, wait a minute, there's a lot of people that do this and a lot
Yeah.
of people that are okay afterwards, maybe even better because of it.
Right.
And I think that's also where, like, the case studies in your book and just hearing from peers and friends about their own experiences, it really normalizes the fact that secondary to post-secondary and beyond is really varied.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. It is.
Mhm.
And I think there's something you were saying on that I thought was really important, and I just lost it. So I'll let it go. It'll come back. No, it's really good. Fantastic.
To add on to you, Annie, and as well as Scott, you know how you said health comes first sometimes, right? And that's very true even when you're in college or high school. It's not just like after that, right? Because sometimes you just got to know when to prioritize yourself and like when it is important to take a break from something, right? So my last semester of college, I was writing my thesis. And I had to quit my thesis because I just had to put my health first. And I did feel like a failure. But at the end, I realized, hey, I'm here. And that's all that matters for now.
Yeah, the sun keeps coming up.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not falling apart. And I think that I remembered what I was thinking about as well. It's great when we make those big changes and make the transfers and we change majors and all. And for many, that's a financial cost. So I think
Absolutely.
as you're
For
both
sure.
reflecting on it, if there had been time to think through that earlier, there might be less change in directions
Oh,
that have
yeah.
a kind of a costly implication. Or that I mean, my favorite is start with liberal arts and then specialize, right? And so come in, because when you get into the university, it's basically this huge shopping market. And there's so many different majors and things you've never heard of and you've never had a chance to learn about.
Right.
Wouldn't it be fun to just shop around for a while? You know?
Well, Shay, I don't know if you experienced this, but one of the things that I recall hearing when I was going through the college application process, which was a fair number of years ago now, I'm going to just say it, was if you applied undeclared, there was this sort of like unspoken thing that you might be less likely to be accepted because colleges want the student that knows what they want to do. And I think I really internalized that. And that really informed my decision to pick education. Not because I didn't love it, not because I'm not glad that I didn't graduate with a degree in education, but it was something that I was good at, that I had experience in, that I could talk about, that I was passionate about, I could see myself being as an adult, as a career. So why not? But that was it. Those were my only reasons versus that and undeclared. And I think in hindsight, gap year, apply undeclared, take more time to think through why you're choosing that major and that occupation.
Right.
And maybe reconsider.
Yeah, it's tough because you're following the rules, you're following
Right.
the experts,
Yeah.
and that can sometimes not be the answer. So yeah,
Right.
it's tough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So, Scott, can we talk about how your research and interests shaped your thinking and interest in individualized career plans.
Yeah, let's start unpacking some of that. I'm going to go back to a time in Milwaukee, and we'll talk about the book, and we have a link to it at the end of on our YouTube channel that you can go look at. But in the book, I talk a lot about it. But it was called Achieving Success Identity Pathways. It's one of the first programs I created out of as I was getting ready for going up for tenure. Been a long road of designing the theory and verifying some of the assessment tools, and then the application when I got to Milwaukee. I want you to know that Achieving Success Identity Pathways, or ASIP, has to be the worst acronym known to humankind. I just don't think as faculty we're all that great at coming up with these really fun titles. I mentioned the lawyer who wanted to be an entrepreneur. When he got his hands on it, he renamed it Success Highways. Ooh, see, you can all right, see, I made my case. But anyway, so we had designed this program where we were helping in a classroom youth and the teachers learn about each other. And we were using some of the 6 core elements that facilitate success in school, like self-efficacy, motivation. What's my goal, right? Having that sense of relevance and importance there, and motivation through building strong relational bases. So we had all these different pieces, but it was a authentic conversation happening, and it allowed the educator to really connect with the youth to connect with their peers, and to really, it was just a very powerful type thing. It came out of one of the big things was called Hear My Story, and so it was really building that out. We had a number of other things in there too, but it was a really exciting program, and it was really, what made it real was youth deciding and exploring who they were, creating a community within the classroom where they were supporting each other and things like that. And so when the ILP piece came in, when I moved into Madison, I had a chance to work with the ILP piece, and I'll explain that as well. It showed me that this could scale that, right? As a single professor in a school, and I did a couple of other schools in Milwaukee as well. It's exhausting. I'm running a program, and then I'm running the after-school program, and we got all the staff and stuff. That's just going to be in a single spot. How do we scale something like this? And I saw the individualized career planning process, given that schools were involved in it, you were seeing states starting to adopt it. It was like, okay, can we learn what that is? And it turned out that there was the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy. They were interested in this as well, because they were finding that states were really, during the No Child Left Behind era, were starting to mandate, at the state level, and states rarely mandate education policies, but they're mandating this thing called an ILP, and they wanted to know, what is this, right? Is there any promising evidence that it works? And are youth with disabilities participating, and are they having similar effects? So it just happened that I saw it, and it was for a big centerpiece. The center itself was the National Collaborative on Workforce Disability for Youth. And my director at the time, my boss, wrote some colleagues to say, is there anyone who's going for this? And it turns out that there was a group that had been very much involved and had the grant before. And they said, but we don't know anything about this ILP thing because we're not a research organization. We're supporting services and programs and helping design policies to help support that. We're not doing research. So they let us write in. They had about 4 or 5 groups wanting to write in, and I went home that night and wrote a 5-page prospectus of what we could do, and they liked it. We got the funding. And then at our first meeting, some of the Department of Labor officials were there, and they came over quietly to me and said, so this is an 18-month program. We're going to 18 months. How much would it cost to make it a longitudinal project? So wrote a number on a napkin. They said, great. And we are off and running, and we worked together for many years. And it was what was so amazing about it was the research changed as our questions changed. Every year we'd come back. What did we learn? What do we miss? What do we need to learn more about? It was so much fun. And working very much with the Department of Labor closely and really recognizing the talent that these staff members and the passion that they have around these topics was incredible. And they just taught me so much. I can't say enough. There's some people here like Taryn Williams, who is our former Assistant Secretary of Labor at ODEP, was actually, first project was working with me on this project when she joined ODEP. Jennifer Kemp, who's just left, who just finished at the Employment ETA, who was the division leader of Youth Services and Programs, worked with us. Maria Town, who's president and CEO of the American Association of People with Disabilities. These individuals were like mentoring and giving me my own little postdoc around how do we take research and translate it into practice and policy. And one of the things they made clear was, we're going to do this to see if it works for all youth, and then we'll figure out what additional things we need to support youth with disabilities. And that vision has really shaped, the work I do from that point.
Yeah.
But it was really, those were the things that really got us going. At the National Collaborative, we had Joan Wills, Mindy Larson, Sean Roy, Curtis Richards. These were also great mentors in helping us really think through how to package this, how to think about it and make it work.
Right.
Yeah. But that was out of that. That was the reason we got things going. The engine was going. We worked with 14 schools from 4 different states for a couple of years. That led to, one of the things we didn't know is, well, what are other states thinking about? So we interviewed the state leaders, their top district leaders on both the general ed and the disability side to get, so you've got this 2x2 study of vision. What is it like? What's happening? What do you see on the ground? We had like 400 pages of notes from all those interviews and wrote I call it the 400-page monster. And this is before AI. So we had to then bring that down into a policy brief, which was very influential in helping everyone see the power, potential, and the roles that were needed, to make this happen. So those are some really exciting times as we were crafting, building, discovering, and just feeling the energy. It was really good stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
So, when did you first realize its potential?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Like, what's that spark? When did we start seeing it? You heard the story from Mia, that you read.
Yeah.
That happened when we were in D.C. and we were presenting to Congress, and we had educators from around the country coming in that we had been working with to just talk about their stories. And that was where we got a lot of these stories from.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. But when we started working with the 14 schools, you started hearing their stories of what was happening and why they were there, because they were excited. We asked the states, we tried to find states that had good mandates and were involved, and we asked them, what are your best schools, right? So we're trying to find where it's working and is working well, what is that like, right? It's not a question about, is everyone doing it well? It's if it's done well, what does it look like?
Right.
And we started hearing things. We started hearing stories about students who were just, getting ready to drop out, turning things around. One of the first stories we heard was about a student-led parent-teacher conference, where the student would take what they've learned on that portfolio we talked about, right? And they would develop a little, PowerPoint presentation for the family, and they would come in, and all of a sudden, in high schools, you never get parent involvement. Oh, within 2 years, they have 100% of the parents coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was incredible, right? And then at the same time, Wisconsin, where I was working, had been doing this prior to our work. They were involved in this piece, because the American School Counseling Association had been advocating for this. Norm Geisers had been writing about this for years as well. So there's always been kind of a historical legacy before
Right.
the states finally got into it. And Wisconsin was one of the early adopters. And so we'd go and start talking with principals, and one principal said, it's so weird to go to a football game and all the parents are talking about careers. Well, what is your child think? What's going on? That all of a sudden it was setting this whole thing in motion where parents were really getting engaged.
Yeah.
And then the businesses were getting excited. And so in Wisconsin at the time, it was just the junior year. Now we advocate differently now, but at the time, every junior would have this parent-led student-teacher conference. And the businesses in the rural areas were going to the parents to say, hey, isn't your child a junior this year? All right, well, when it comes, you let us know. We're going to give you all the time you need.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
You don't get that sense of a community impact, right?
Right.
I've got the math textbook. I don't remember my business coming and saying, hey, do you need any help on that
Yeah.
new math thing, right? What's going on? I don't even remember the name of the textbook, but they knew what it was. They knew at the time what it was called with ILPs. They knew what that was, and they knew that they wanted it, right?
Right.
So we had things like that. We had businesses donating equipment. One of the things we haven't talked about yet is the power of career and technical education, and what a major important infrastructure they've created to allow the ILP to get scaled.
Right,
Because they
yeah.
have career pathways, and they have all of these very operationalized kinds of ways of thinking about the future work.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And we need that in order for this to really be possible.
Right.
But we had businesses that were then saying, wow, you're investing in this process. Why don't we give you robotics equipment? Why don't we help? In Sheboygan, the business community raised millions of dollars to build onto the school to add in advanced manufacturing technology and
Yeah.
providing support. This is when you say, is it working, right? So we've also got lots of stories. We'll continue going through those a little bit too, but it's just like, wow. One of my favorite stories, it was shocking because I wasn't expecting it. When we were in Washington giving testimony, one of the teachers, one of the leaders, said, because of the ILP, we've had a reduced teenage pregnancy rate. Right? What do women like when they have goals? They start thinking differently about relationships and their bodies and things, right? We talked about it as well, health becoming an important piece, but also just protecting. Okay, I have a future I want to invest in. So yeah, I mean, just an amazing story. So that was kind of like, those are like the stories were so powerful that you just don't hear. This isn't normal, right? That was like, okay, there's something here. We need to figure it out. We need to figure out what that is and how we can help scale it, so we can have more experience on that. So yeah, so those are some of the ones. I was just looking to see if I missed any, but I think those are the main ones. Yeah.
There's a lot there.
There's a lot. I've got so many stories we can keep going. Oh my goodness. Yeah. All right, one more story. So we talked about family.
Right.
So at the time that the ODEP project came up and we were working on that, I was as I said, I was just starting at Madison. Yeah. One of the first meetings I had was with the Singapore Ministry of Education, who was also interested in the ILP, as well as a more personalized career technology. And so they wanted us to take the one we had and redesign it for them, but they wanted to know what the philosophy was. And so I told them, I wasn't even hired yet, but I just told them, here's my philosophy. And they go, that's what we want. Very exciting. Big project. So we're working on it, and all of a sudden now we've done the training, the counselors are starting to use it, and we're coming back to follow up with some of it. And one of the counselors talked about how one of their students, a male student, was stopped coming to school. And it's odd, because what's happening, finally showed up one day. He goes, why aren't you coming? He goes, well, because I've decided I want to be a male nurse, and my father said no. So he said, why don't you take it's an online system, go home, put your dad on it, show him what you've done, show him all the information, and he came back a week later and said, my dad said that'll be fine. Because what's missing there, right? We don't know the income you're going to make. We don't know the value, the importance of this. And so this is an area where I think if we can connect with family to let them become part of the process, I think there's going to be much more flexibility. But in the absence of that, what am I going on? What I hear about, what I think about, what we it becomes a very narrow range, because we know, well, those are good ones, so just do one of those, right? Or following in your family. But there's such a range of opportunity that we have to build our family's ability to understand that as well. So that was one of my stories I thought was like, yes, there's something there that we really need to invest in.
I think that's so true. Yeah. So we have another story from your book.
Okay.
If you want us to talk about it.
All right.
So this was a student who went through the senior seminar course, and they came back to talk to one of their teachers. I think it was ahead of testifying in Washington. So it was a case study in the book that came about before then. So her name was Maria, and she said that when she started college, she was clear on what she wanted to be when she became a, quote, grown-up, which I love. I wanted to manage a business and its finances. I think it is so important for students to be well educated about all of this stuff before they enter into college. Speaking about what she learned in her senior seminar. Many of our parents didn't even finish high school. They can't teach us this type of stuff. Having the senior seminar class in high school is what opened my door to college. And sort of the story goes on, she was getting ready to graduate. Her younger brother was in college at the time, and her youngest brother was about to graduate from high school and pursue college. And so it was through the learning that she did and her parents did in the senior seminar, and then her younger brothers, that they were able to sort through the FAFSA and other scholarships and sort of determine what it is that they wanted to study when both of her parents had never been to college. So
not only that, powerful. There's so much more, right?
Yeah.
This is an immigrant family. They didn't speak English.
Nope.
So while this individual, Maria's getting ready to go to college, she's still learning English as she's going along, right? Knew nothing about the financial processes, the FAFSA forms and all these crazy words and language and stuff, but learned it
And her parents did too.
And her parents did too. And
Yeah.
it was this counselor that wouldn't let her graduate.
Mrs. Ruggles.
Until she got that FAFSA completed, saw the
Right.
potential, right? And that's part of it too, is it takes that strong school counselor to say, we're going to make this happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's an amazing story to
It
have
is.
first generation, all these levels. I think that's why we love working with Sociedad Latina here in Boston, because that's their attitude as well. And
Yeah.
they work so hard to make sure that they get in and they get supported.
Yep.
It's such an important piece, but that it can happen. It can happen. That's
Oh,
the beauty of it
absolutely.
as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So, we should also, there is research involved in all this. We've got
not
the
just
stories. And we
anecdotal.
lead with the stories. And, it's just funny because when I would present for ODEP and presenting with other state departments and things, they'd always say, start with the stories, then drop in the research. Okay, so we start with the stories. Now let's talk about the research.
The fun part.
So I want to talk about a dear colleague. This would be Thomas Tor Gibney and a colleague, Mary Ronner. They're both from West Ed. They're kind of a big research and practice policy think tank. And they work at the time, before these things got let go, which was really problematic, they were part of the Institute for Education Sciences. They were one of the comprehensive centers.
Yeah.
And they were working with Arizona, and one of the things in Arizona, they were one of our early advocates and really working with us on the research we found and redesigning their policies to align with it, which was really exciting. But one of the things is they needed some kind of longitudinal research, and so Thomas and Mary took it on to really look at some of the existing data sets to say, all right, well, which of these individuals got some kind of an ILP? And which ones got it each year of high school. So they were able to look and see, was there at least some kind of summary process
Right.
annually during the high school? And what they found was those students who did were more likely to be engaged in post-secondary education, which is fancy speak for they were taking a more rigorous course schedule.
Yeah.
They were more likely to fill out the FAFSA form, right? To actually apply, get accepted, and go at the end of the day. So there's a number of things that go into. You don't just go to college, right? It's that thing.
Right.
But it was a pretty nice thing to have a longitudinal study showing this was a really
Right.
big piece.
When was that study?
That
conducted?
you're asking me the date. Yeah, that was
Well,
a few years back.
I guess I'm just trying to put all of these years of research and
Oh my
stories
gosh.
into
Yeah.
context.
Well, the good news is it's
for
attached. We do
those.
have the link right on our
Okay.
on our piece
We'll
there,
have to
so
get
they'll
that
be able to
link
you'll be able to
then.
go in and find a nice little infographic that summarizes the research. Rather than having them, I don't want you all to read some journal article. No, this is the nice pictures. It's got a good storyline. They did a beautiful job of. It's good to have a good graphics department. They did a nice job on that. But I'm hoping you'll all look at that, and the dates are in there. But yeah, it would have been in 2020, so
I see.
more recently. Actually, it was 2022.
Oh,
Is that better?
very recent. Okay.
21 or 22. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was more recent. It came out about the same time that a major study from OECD came out. We'll talk about that on another
Yeah.
one of our next sessions. But anyway, so there's good. We've got data. In fact, IES, which only works with the most important research, the Southwest REL, which is the Regional Education Lab at the time, no longer in existence because of funding cuts. But we were working together to really get more of this ILP research out nationally because we're all in agreement that when youth are engaged, they learn better.
Right.
And when they learn better, they earn more because they're getting jobs that they're excited about. And so
Yeah.
it's good for the economy, it's good for the economic competitiveness of the regions that they live in. So it's sort of that right thing to do, which we
Yeah.
realized, but lost a little momentum with some of those cuts, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's next? What do we want to talk about here? We've got a few minutes left here, probably about 5 or 6.
5 or 6 minutes. Well,
What do you want to know about?
that's the $1 million question. I guess one question would be, okay, so we've talked about ILPs. We've talked about, where they started, who all's been involved, sort of the why, the benefits of them. If there's anybody that's listening who is maybe in a district or school that doesn't have much buy-in, or they're not sure that they're, quality ILPs that their students have been getting, what might you suggest? Which is not an easy answer,
No, I understand.
but
Yeah, it's a lot of work. There are things we have to do, and there's some of it is, does our state have the implementation policies in place.
Mm-hmm.
So do they have basically kind of a definition of what this is?
Right.
How
Okay.
are states approaching it?
Mm-hmm.
Have they identified resources that we can draw from?
Yeah.
And have they identified some of the data points, some of the communication talking points that we can use as we go to talk to our own leaders, our parents, school board, unions, and things like that? That becomes important because we can't ask an educator or even in a small district or small school to lift all of this up.
Right.
Now, thankfully, we do have some resources that they can use, and you can start with some of the ones that we have, which is like the policy brief that kind of defines it. So those are all on our listed at the end, are links for that. We have a how-to guide that kind of connects the activities, and we're going to spend a few more sessions talking more in depth on those and what they're about. But the communication materials, the ability to frame it in a way that each group can understand its value is really a big important piece. And so the how-to guide provides some of that rationale. And the policy brief also helps. It kind of gives an idea of what each role would be, why we need our business community involved, why we need, a cross-sector team of professionals. Like you said, there's health involved, so
Right.
there's workforce development, there's disability, there's all these different groups that should be also at the table.
Right.
But I think it's important to not feel like I have to go it alone. There are lots of people out there that are doing this, and we'll have more resources coming up very soon
Okay.
as we turn the corner that people can go into and kind of peruse to see what's there.
Right.
So we want, and it's all open access. We try to make everything
Yes.
as much as we can open access for
Yeah.
everyone. Doesn't mean everything is, but what we try to do the best
We
we
try
can
to.
Yeah.
as we do that. So I think that's one. And then also, and as much as it is, the book does a good job of kind of soup to nuts. It's, making school relevant using individualized learning plans is the title. You'll have the link on there. But it's a small, short book, but it's really everything, I think, in
Yeah.
terms of trying to describe what we learned, all the core components, how it all intersects. It's something that administrators can read, educators, community-based organizations
Yeah.
that want to get involved in this. They're to me, one of the most important resources that we need to bring in because out of school time, perfect place for doing
Yeah.
this exploration.
Right.
It's a fantastic way. And if we're working with our schools, it may be that the school is paying or has available, a state has available the online system. They can use it anywhere. So if we can have our community groups get involved, it may not be at high cost.
Right.
It's just a matter of having lots of excitement and positive energy is really what we're needing, right?
Yeah.
So, yes, I think those are some of the things that we'd be looking at.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
all right.
I love an action item,
Yeah.
Or,
Well, I think we have so much more to talk about.
Yes, we do.
And we're going to take it, we're
Yes,
not
we
going to
do.
rush, we're going to kind of move things through as we go.
Yeah.
But I would say, the resources we put on the links today, I love the one for parents. We have a fact sheet that kind of just gives brief description and overview. Again,
Right.
we're using the ILP label, but figure out what your state uses.
Yeah.
Should be on their state sites. And then also, if you want to just use individualized career planning and stuff, people get pretty much what that is and what that's about. But so don't be focused on these materials as being have to. If you're in a school and you want to just copy and paste, just make sure you cite it, but certainly put it in newsletters.
Yeah.
Rework it. But that's what it's there for, so you don't have to start from scratch, right?
Right.
You've got some
Right.
information you can use. So.
Yeah.
But it's been a great. It's been a very exciting time working
Yeah.
on this work. It's engaging. It's uplifting. Lots of great stories you can see.
Yeah.
Really fun stuff, and we'll do some more on our next one.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So, wow.
Yeah. This was an exciting conversation.
It
Yeah.
was.
Let me see what I have here at the end. All right. Well, I think then, here we are. So, thank you for taking a moment for youth. To access today's resources, the conversation from today, go to our Center for Future Readiness YouTube channel, where you will find links to these and many other resources on our portal. Wheelock College of Wheelock College of Education and Human Development. Don't lose that education word.
No, don't.
We are looking for undergraduate and graduate students who want to transform the lives of children and youth throughout the world. We have a couple of great examples right here at the table. So excited to work with you both. As co-director for our Center for Future Readiness, we are especially interested in those who are ready to become the next generation of school counselors, career development professionals. So certainly reach out to us. But for now, goodbye from me, Scott Solberg.
Goodbye from me, Annie Bell.
And goodbye from me, Shreya Venkatesan.